Well, hey everyone, welcome to Friday's Friday Free for All. Welcome back, one and all, to the Prepared Mind channel where we discuss SHTF hitting the fan. It has hit the fan. I mean, we've heard a lot about these people lately, haven't we? Oh, yeah, we know all about those guys. We know. Now, in America, they try and look a little more civil. No, wait. How would we know? All they do is wear head wraps and masks to hide who they are, but they're being exposed. Whether they're rather brusque and macho looking with their little beards and their little headbands of terror, or whether they're, shall we say, elite, doing well, successful businessman. Well, get this, folks. A Palestinian American. Is there any such fucking thing? In fact, I'm tired of the hyphenated American. I'm tired of white American, black American, right? I'm sick of it. You're either American or you're not. Anyways, this jackass who's a Palestinian CEO of a hair loss and erectile dysfunction company, he is offering jobs to pro-Hamas protesters. And this CEO, who is Palestinian, doing business in America, says they have moral courage. These Palestinians have moral courage. Now, I'll give them this. You Palestinians are at war with Israel. Admit it. Don't give us we're victims bullshit or it's genocide. If it was genocide, there'd be less of you around. Instead, there's more. Now, I want to remind everyone that the American Revolution had people called Tories. That is to say, they were people who supported the King of England and all his tyranny. Well, the Palestinians support terrorism. So let's call them Terries or Terrories. Anyways, kind of like Tories, but they're Terrories. All foreigners need to be expelled from this country unless they, before God and man, proclaim allegiance to the United States of America and proclaim the Constitution, the law of the land, and that which they will abide. And if they fail to do that, take that oath, or are caught at any time violating the Constitution, the laws of this land, or shout death to America, or support, promote anyone who thinks that, then get the fuck out of here. It is the Prepared Mind channel, folks. A show for people who love liberty, freedom, and respect human rights, not use a presumed, assumed, manufactured story about my people are being abused, so I have a right to make everyone else suffer. No, it's being put down today quite a bit, folks. Here we are. It is Friday. It is the free for all. Get your questions down below in all caps, please. Ooh, man is going to make it back. He stepped out. So I'm in charge of everything. Let's start with name redacted. We're going to do shotgun. You, me, back and forth. And name redacted says, John, have some observations about Ukraine. It's Ukraine. So important, we got to send boatloads of cash, but don't speak much or show anything about what's going on. Palestine can't shut the fuck up, but send little and show less of Israel's activity. Continuing. Are we continued? Where's the rest of it? Name redacted. That's how this works. Palestine. No, see, everyone wants to complain. Everyone wants money. Everyone wants to be obeyed. Everyone wants to be in charge. What happened to the notion of leaving other people alone? Stop bleeding on them and making them deal with your shit. Well, folks, terrorism has a special way it works, right? As a person who loves freedom, loves liberty, respects others, right? You don't see me doing that where I go out into public and force them to listen to me, to put up with my stuff, right? If you want to hear me, you can come to this channel, right? And if I want to listen to you guys, I'll read your comments And that's how it works. It's mutually beneficial. Terrorism is not mutually beneficial. In fact, it's kind of lopsided. I want to point to a Gateway Pundit article. Terrorist supporters are supporting terrorists. They are not supporting freedom fighters. And terrorists are not freedom fighters. So let's get into a little bit of details, right? And I want to give Gateway Pundit credit, right? I took their article, and of course I added some of my additional John opinions and facts. Hamas, folks, and the pro-Palestinian rioters in America, in the United States of America, are laying siege to campuses, right? These people are terrorists, by definition, not freedom fighters. Folks, understand the difference. Terrorism targets civilians. Civilians. They target them with they target civilians with violence and, of course, threats of violence to bring about political change that favors them. Freedom fighters target a government that is oppressive to provide freedom for all, not just regime change for new tyrants to assume power and then subdue the populace. Now, jihad terrorists are especially nasty, and that they'll attack not just men, but women, children, the unborn. They rape people, murder. That's Hamas. That is Hamas. And then they want to force everyone to convert to their religion, by the way, if you survive the initial onslaught, only to be murdered if you refuse. And of course, you can be sold into slavery. What would the descendants of slaves say to that? That pro-Palestinian, pro-Muslim, pro-jihadis would make slaves of them. Has anyone asked black communities what they think of that notion that selling people into slavery is just fine under their religion? Whether they're domestic slaves, like plantation slaves, or sex slaves? Just start asking the fucking questions. You'll find out exactly where these people are. Right? They would subdue a population with their religious intolerance. Now, there is an old saying. The difference between a freedom fighter and a terrorist is victory. Meaning, if you're victorious, right, you're okay, right? The idea is that the victor gets to declare who are the heroes and who are not. A similar saying is, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. The meaning here is that terrorist or freedom fighter is a matter of perspective. Both of those sayings are incorrect. Wrong. Terrorism is a malign methodology, meaning it is a murderous methodology that goes after everybody it can, including a civilian population. Changing political tyrants under terrorism is not the same as achieving independence and freedom from tyranny, right? Terrorism is more apt to create localized Armageddon than anything else. Folks, the ends do not justify the means, and those end results, certainly do not change the nature of terrorism. These people in our country are terrorists. And I'm also talking about the Democrat Party and Rhino Republicans. They are terrorists. By definition, they use violence and threats of violence to subdue a people. They jail them. They force them and want to force them to accept their religion. Right, Hillary Clinton, with your re-education camps? Right? Right, Katie Couric, with your death camps, concentration camps, re-education camps, work camps? Understand who the terrorists are. Once again, the government Democrats in D.C. and the rhinos in D.C. are terrorists. They use force and the threat of force against a civilian population to subdue it and take from them their legitimate government and replace it with a totalitarian, authoritarian government that takes everything from them and gives them peanuts. That sounds just like our fucking taxation system, does it not? Got to think, folks. We've got to think. Now, Uman is here. He's got this. Everybody. Everybody, I'm going to jump into this while Uman's gathering his thoughts. We've got a badass diving frog on this ridiculous free-for-all Friday. He says, John, why are leftists like Christmas lights? Half of them don't work and the other half aren't very bright. I couldn't help it. Had to go there. What a day. By the way, I'm feeling like shit. We're working like dogs, all of us Americans, to have, 40 to 60% of our money taken from us? I don't like the idea of working 6 months out of the year for no fucking reason other than to support a government that doesn't support me, to support a government that terrorizes other countries as well as ours. Thanks, government. President Ronald Reagan said, government is not the solution to our problems. Government is the problem. Here we are, Friday, free for all. Let's get it on. I've got some topics for you, and I know you've got some topics for me. Mr. Uman, it's Friday, man. We made it. I hope you're doing well. And I want get your questions down below. We go back and forth the whole show, and I'm going to give you this. I'm going to take the next step. I want you to understand how this country is being torn down and destroyed, both inside and out. In Niger, country in Africa, very rich in mineral resources, metals, uranium, oil. It's a very resource-rich country. Russian troops have now decided that they're going to take over the U.S. base in Niger. There's a few U.S. troops still there, folks. But the government, whether you want to call it a military coup government or not, they have expelled both the French military and the U.S. military from their country. Right? Biden is taking this humiliation. It should be all his. Mainstream media won't cover it. No, they won't. But I will, folks. Washington, D.C. is a den of losers intentionally destroying America's reputation, our economy, our military, our currency, everything. Do you see where this leads? Who is on TV every day? Karine Jean-Pierre with her ridiculous fucking haircut and low IQ bullshit and lies, only matched by Joe Biden's ridiculous lies that he continues to proclaim, and no one's saying, look, you never were a college professor. You never drove a truck. Every time you claim to do something you never did, it is evidence that you're out of your fucking gourd. Woo! Folks, when mainstream media, they will never do their job properly. They are a lost cause. They have soiled themselves, folks, soiled themselves. The left is insane. Democrats are evil. You want proof? In Boston, Massachusetts. That's right, folks. Home of the American Revolution, one of the great sites, right? They had the Boston Tea Party, where they gave the King of England the bird and said, you're a tyrant, because the King of England was terrorizing civilians, his own people. Well, Boston is now a shithole, vermin infested, and they have a communist mayor. Anyways, guess what? The police showed up upon a complaint that a Boston woman had dead, frozen babies in her house. That's right. 4 dead babies were in her freezer, wrapped up in foil. She is not going to be charged with murder. Oh, this gets better. They have tested the babies and discovered they're all related. They all belong to this woman. Now, they're saying, well, we don't know when the babies disappeared. She lost her husband several years ago, and so we're not going to charge her. Are you fucking kidding me? Right? The road to hell was paved by Marxists, folks. And the road to hell is open for all Democrats and Rhino Republicans too, to march to their end And they have no problem being this evil. How awful is this, folks? How awful is it? It is just going to get worse. All right, Mr. Man, I know you're getting warmed up in there. Who do we want to put up next on this crazy Friday free-for-all? It has hit the fan. The world has gone stupid crazy, and there's just enough of us to protect the world. Folks, we're like 75% of the world, sane people. I think Democrats and their insanity are overrepresented, that their lying, cheating in elections has gotten them into positions of power, but they really are fucked up. Be that as it may, there are Democrats all around us, and we need to protect ourselves from them. Mikey G says, moral stupidity, making themselves unemployable. You bet. At colleges all over the South, from Ole Miss, not far from where I'm at now, Ole Miss, which is a Mississippi college. It's a university in Mississippi. Their mascot, if you will, is a kind of a Colonel Sanders looking guy, definitely a Southern plantation owner. That's what he looks like. Right? They did not allow these fucking terrorists to take over their college and ruin it and fuck things over. In fact, at Ole Miss, the college kids there shouted down the idiots, made fun of them, flipped them off, drove them away, outsang them, singing the national anthem and everything they could that was patriotic. Good. Same with LSU, folks, Louisiana State University. That's right. Students at Louisiana said no more of this shit, and they're shutting them down. Frat boys, if you will. Southern boys, if you will. American boys is what they are. It just so happens that down south we've decided, and I am now a Southern boy of Teutonic heritage. They're tired of this shit, and they're not going to allow it. You want to play communist, you go to a communist country. You want to play terrorist, go to a terrorist country. You want to bring that shit to America, you're going to find that many places aren't going to receive you well. They are morally stupid, folks. They're making themselves unemployable. It's amazing to me how these pieces of shit terrorists, and they just haven't started shooting people yet. They haven't started stabbing people en masse in their little mini revolts at colleges. They're trying to get warmed up, trying to rally support. Talking about the pro-Palestinian, pro-terrorist types. They're scum. But when they get arrested, they don't want their face coverings taken off. They don't want to be identified. Why aren't they proud of who they are? Why aren't they proud of who they are and what they believe and what they're trying to do and what they're working towards long-term in this country, which is the expulsion or death of all white people, black people, Native Americans, Asians, and Hispanics, if they don't convert to their fucked up way of life? Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Making themselves unemployable. That's why they hide their faces. I bet a lot of these people, if they could clean their shit up, probably wouldn't look half bad, like normal humans. But they got their pink and green and blue hair. They're getting arrested. Even guys now are doing their fucking hair like the fruit salad, pole smoking sausage hiders. God, they're fucked up people. Just trying to describe who they are by what they do it's rather vomitous. Anyways, where do we go next? They're unemployable. They take their face coverings off. You're done. You work for a company and you want to be a highly visible CEO and talk a bunch of shit about the country that is supporting you, right? Pro-Palestinian, Palestinian American. Hasta la vista. Get the fuck out of here. All right. My turn. It's my turn. You're cutting in line, man. I got you, man. No worries, brother. Look, Darcy T checked in again. And she, among many others out there who contact me, want to make sure that we do not forget, and I agree wholeheartedly, that people are sick from the Jim Jones juice. Now, this is what she sent to me. And it's just to make us think, folks. Boeing 737 MAX whistleblower. His name was Joshua Dean, age 45. He was dead after a sudden illness. Now, he died in the hospital Tuesday morning after his family says his health deteriorated suddenly. He was in critical condition for 2 weeks after he started having difficulty breathing. He tested positive for, influenza B, a staph infection. He developed pneumonia and then kicked the fucking bucket. Now, there's 2 ways this can go. What do you believe? Now, I'm sure YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Google, Facebook would call this a conspiracy theory. But there is the fact that a man is dead. So how did he die? Let's start with the most obvious one. Are you ready? He's the second whistleblower for Boeing to talk about how a multi-billion-dollar Dow Jones corporation, right? Huge military industrial complex leader in the world is cheating, lying, and fucking everyone over by avoiding the expense of doing things right. Did they kill him? Or was it the Jim Jones juice? Because his symptoms are suspiciously like those of people who die from the Jim Jones juice. Cardiac problems, pulmonary problems, breathing conditions, a quick and rapid deterioration of health, and down you go. Now, I don't know which way this went, folks. I'm going to say take a wild guess, but you only get 2. Right? I'm going to give you the the logical fallacy choice of 2 fucked up options, and 2 only. Right, guys, 45. Is it a coincidence that we have yet another person who died suddenly? Or was he poisoned? Right? Poisons can cause the same problems. Now, I'm going to share my idea. Most people who die from the Jim Jones juice die with a nice fat heart attack. Well, this is my opinion. This is just an opinion. I'm not a medical examiner or a coroner. Right? They die suddenly. They're just gone. Fine one day, gone the next. Fine one day, they collapse, they're done. I mean, a lot of them do survive. They collapse. They almost fucking die. They turn blue. They zap them. They bring them back to life. They pull some fucking clots out of their heart, their legs, their neck. Which one was it? Neither of them are good options, folks. That's the world we live in. Darcy T, thank you again for your great support. And folks, by the way, we're going to be back Sunday night for Sunday Night Live. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unless the alligators get me, the boa constrictor strangles me, or the FBI and CIA catch me and fucking give me the Boeing treatment. All right, Mr. Uman, here we are. It is Cyber Hana checking in. She writes, so what is this I hear about the United States government building a port in Gaza for oil? Is that real? Potatoes, meaning Joe Biden, said no troops on the ground, yet Potato Joe Biden shipped 1,000 U.S. military personnel to build that port. But where do the rules of engagement fall in this scenario? Can these builder troops protect themselves from an attack as long as this asshat says no boots on the ground? Okay. So I've heard a little bit about this. When it comes to the military and building, we have a couple of organizations. One is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They've been around for well over 100 years as an organization. They build everything for the military. They do large engineering projects, and they're famous for it. It's what they do. All of the levees and rivers in the Central Valley, the Sacramento Valley, were built by the Army Corps of Engineers. They dredged out the riverbeds to contain the rivers so that the Central Valley wouldn't be a swamp. It was much like Florida at one point. They do shit like that. So building ports. The other one is, of course, the United States Navy's Seabees, and their icon or symbol, if you will, is a yellow jacket with a little Navy hat on his head, a little Cracker Jack hat, and a fucking machine gun. Not a hammer, not a saw, but a machine gun. So your question about can they protect themselves? I know the Seabees can. They're swinging hammers until it's time to pick up a gun and shoot terrorists. Now, what's more important to me about whether or not these people can protect themselves or whether or not they're capable and competent to build, which they are, is what the fuck are we doing in Gaza? Why does Gaza need the United States to build a port and then put oil tanks on there to hold millions, if not billions, of gallons of oil, diesel, gasoline? It's pretty interesting. Now, I want to share a story with you about a place I've been to in a foreign country. The entire nation that I visited, and this is a while back, the entire nation was dirt poor, third world country, shithole, roads barely paved, no paint on the roads. People were nice. That was fine. They were extremely poor. At this time and place that I went, they were very positive towards Americans. But I discovered an area and I said, hey, this place is starting to feel military. The ground was leveled, smooth, flat. All shrubbery and bush was cleared away. There was a very stern, if we can use stern to describe the appearance of a security fence. Right, there was the road that went into it was in better shape. And I thought, what the hell is this place? Is this a military base? No, it was a fuel oil depot where ships came in. It was a port, and they had cleared the land, made it extremely flat, built giant tanks, and that's exactly what it was. Very similar to what is being described as supposed to happen in Gaza. And that country protected that very well. There were no terrorists allowed just to run around and shoot people. So to answer the question is yes, if this is done, it's going to be protected, or at least until Biden abandons it the same way he's abandoned Afghanistan and Niger. In fact, Niger kicked him the fuck out. Niger kicked Biden out. But yeah, things will be built right. They'll build it under protection. And trust me, the terrorists, folks, they see America spending their money, putting in a fuel oil depot. They see America working its ass off, doing it right, spending the money. They're not going to fuck with them a bit. They'll wait till they're all done and all the tanks are full of oil. Then they'll start their shit. They won't blow it up because their plan is to steal it. You think Gaza won't kick the United States government the fuck out the moment it benefits them? That's who these people are. That's what we've got here, folks. These are some really stupid people. When I say stupid, I'm pretty sure I mean really stupid. Now, this is not stupid. This is the Friday free-for-all, folks. Get your questions and comments into Mr. Ooman. We're going to have some fun with it. It's the end of the week, folks. I've had my ass kicked by life. I worked Monday, Tuesday, and half of Wednesday just to pay my taxes. So here we are in the great state of Florida. Oh, yeah, that's where I live now. Governor DeSantis is at it again. Folks, do you like genetically modified organisms in your diet? Do you like being fed food that is 90% chemicals? maybe 10% food products. Do you like the idea of mRNA in your food fucking with your genetics? Do you like the idea of the food you eat being fed hormones to get it to produce more? Hormones, they said, well, these hormones don't get into people's body. And then you see 10-year-old girls with boobs. And you're like, yeah, I think those milk hormones, I think they got into the little girls out there. And even the little boys, they get their little man boobs. Anyways, Governor DeSantis said enough of this shit in Florida. He has banned lab-grown meat in Florida, folks. Lab-grown meat. I'm going to say the words again. Listen careful. Laboratory grown meat. Number one, it's not grown. Plants and vegetables are grown. Animals are raised and fed crops, food, plants. This lab-grown meat is not grown. It's crap. Literally, folks, it's crap. And then it's extruded together to give the appearance of meat. I mean, number two, it's not meat. Meat comes from animals. Cows, chickens, hogs, turkeys. Yeah, those animals. Meat does not come from a Frankenstein laboratory, folks. Laboratory, that's where they have science experiments. I'm not a lab rat to be experimented on. And Governor DeSantis said, fuck you to lab-grown meat. It's poison. It's poison. Fuck, it's poison. How can it, if it's, and it's being shoved down people's throat. Oh, maybe they have real protein in there. Yeah, like from bugs. Or is it going to be like that other country that's using human excrement shit and they're recycling it into food? Recycling shit into food. Oh, folks, the world of sanity, the world of intelligence, the world of freedom, your rights, intelligence is getting much smaller indeed. Okay, Mr. Uman. Yeah, name redacted. Frankenfood. That was the name given to this shit. Now, it's bad enough years ago when they're like, okay, look at this protein slime that's come off of meat at meat processing plants. Well, they'll put some food starch in it, thicken it up a little, right? And then we'll call it hot dogs or, that was the early Frankenfood, Franken meat. Right? It was animal protein that was just kind of squeezed back into some sort of shape that is resembling other food. It's disgusting. Now, look, folks, I'm going to be honest. Food for human consumption through all of human history has been one of those things that is, in the best of times, delicious, and in the worst of the times, barely sustaining of life. We live in a strange moment in human history, folks. One that can continue or one that can disappear very quickly. We've lived through great times, and I feel very blessed on the one hand to have lived through the greatest parts of America, except for the early 60s and the 1950s. The greatest parts of America and the human condition with freedom, liberty, rights, peace and fucking quiet, lots of fireworks, the American flag, really good sex, quality beer, things we like. And now it appears to be going away. Now we're heading back down to where human beings have normally existed. And that is in a state of war, in a state of poverty. Humans throughout history have lived in a condition where they can barely get enough food to subsist, where the enjoyment of life is very minimal, and it's a struggle to live from day to day, month to month, and year to year. We have been really blessed with freedom and liberty. And who do we have trying to fucking destroy it? We have people like George Soros, Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, Obama, both of them, the Bidens, all of them, the elites of Europe, the banking elite, the royal elites and aristocrats, the corporate elites, they want all those things that we all had 10 fucking years ago, but they want us to go back to the normal way of living. Normal, meaning they control the wars, they control the wealth, and they control the food. And one of the things they're trying to take is our fucking food. No farming in Europe. It creates carbon dioxide. Really? Carbon is in everything. No food for you, right? In America, we're going to feed you bugs. In Europe, we're going to feed you bugs. We're going to take away farm fresh produce. We're going to give you franken fucking meat. There's your food. We're going to take your rights and your liberties. We need authoritarianism, so we need a central bank data currency, right? CBDC. We need to take away your cash, take away your wealth, take away your property rights, your rights to travel, your rights to exist. That's what these fucking people are doing. And it's a war that's coming. And you and I, we're going to have a chance to defend our freedom or take a knee. Now, in football, when the quarterback takes a snap and takes a knee, that is surrendering the down. It is giving up that play. In real life, when you take a knee, you're surrendering to the person in front of you. Not for a victory, but for defeat. Are you going to take a knee when the time comes? I haven't asked this question in a while. Do you prefer your life over liberty? Would you rather be a slave than to fight for your freedom and possibly die? I think it's a valid question, because that very question has been posed not just to Americans throughout all of human history. It's been posed to all humans throughout all history, with the exception of just the last few decades, the last century of American and world history. People have been told, you will obey, or you're going to prison, or we're going to put a bullet in the back of your head, or we'll take a sword and cut off your head, or we'll stone you to death. As you go back in technology, it gets a little more crude, right? Went from stones to swords to bullets to chemicalized food and mRNA injections. Where do you want to end up, folks? You're going to take a knee? Folks, if you agree to slavery, they can kill you any way they want. The fight is coming. I have picked my place from which to fight the battle. Down in the South. That's where I want to be. There's no perfect place on earth, except maybe, well, I don't want to say it because then everyone will go there. Oh, man. It's messed up, folks. It truly is. It truly is a really messed up place, the world. It's just, and it's not what you make it, it's how we protect what we have. Okay. I don't even know what brought that topic up. I know it brought it up, but I think that was Mike who had something to say about frankenfood and kind of set me off. Now, these elites I've been talking about. It's a club, and not everyone can be in it. In fact, not everyone qualifies. And if you are, you don't get to leave. The same way, once you're in with the CIA, you never really are out. Now, a Democrat from Texas, he was a representative in Congress, a Democrat. Pardon me, bad day for me. He criticized Biden. That's right, a Democrat criticized Biden over the border crisis. This Democrat and his wife have now been indicted by the feds for bribery and money laundering. Democrat, bribery, money laundering. He is facing 204 years in prison for bribery and money laundering. It's funny how Hunter Biden can extort money from foreign corporations using Daddy Joe's name and Daddy Joe's presence, right? Joe Bribham. That's his fucking nickname. But this isn't a crime for either of them. Remember Hunter Biden's like, yeah, well, the big guy's sitting right next to me and you're going to get it together and get it to us or you're going to regret it. I mean, extortion, forcing people to bribe him, just that can't have that. But you criticize Biden over the border crisis and you're going to fucking prison. Well, fuck you, Joe. You ain't got nothing on me. Anything they were to ever charge me with, folks, we've been manufactured lies. They can fuck off. They'll do the same to you or anyone they can. It's going to be go time, folks. I want you to understand this is the government. The one we have right now is the one that is most dangerous because of what they're doing. They'll attack their own and throw them in prison. They'll take their own and kill them. Jeffrey Epstein, right? Now, like I said, I've got it on from a very authoritative source that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He actually killed himself. Anyways, look, they'll take everyone down in the fight, folks. We're not dealing with a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We're dealing with a government that lies to the people, to fuck the people, to enrich themselves. That is who we're dealing with. It's not going to get better until it gets a lot worse. And it will never get better until we, the people, take the power back and take our states back and take our nation back. All righty, Mr. Uman, we've got name redacted up, and he says, you can't say it enough, John. They act under the color of law while wearing costumes of authority. Holy shit. You just hit a couple of things. Okay, there's the law, and then there's color of law. Now, we all know what the law is. It's the law of the land, the Constitution. It is nature's law, natural law, aka God's law, common law. That is law. Everything else is statute, regulation, rule. Now, we've all agreed by not going to war with the government to try and obey the rules and regulations and statutes. But color of law is when a tyrant, whether it's a politician at the federal level or a local law enforcement officer, uses the color of law or the appearance of law. That's what color of law means. It appears to be law to take your money, control you, arrest you, penalize you. That's the color of law. So when the policeman pulls you over and he says, you were speeding, and you're like, actually, I wasn't. And he says, you weren't wearing your seatbelt. And he said, actually, I was, but you asked me for my wallet, so I undid my seatbelt, took my wallet out, and gave you my license. Right? And then he says, get out of the car. You're talking back to me. Well, what did I do wrong? You're obstructing my investigation. It's like, I'm not breaking any laws or rules or nothing. Right? Under color of law, when when government authority abuses you while wearing one of their costumes, right? A costume. What's the difference between me and you and a policeman out there who is a criminal? He's wearing a costume. He's got a blue uniform with a badge, and he's got a tool belt, and he's got a name tag, and he acts authoritative. That is acting under color of law. Right? It's a symbol of authority, the costume. But think about it, it's just a fucking costume. Imagine a clown like Joe Biden, right? Clown suit, full, top to bottom, wearing a fucking clown wig, a clown red nose, painted face, but he's got a badge and a fucking gun. Is it a cop or a clown? What makes a cop a cop? What makes a clown a clown? The costume, right? The costume. What makes you obey a clown? Fucking nothing. What makes you obey a cop? The badge and the gun. Mostly the gun. It's just a costume. You take the policeman's uniform off him, what is he? she or he looks just like us. They're authoritative assholes when they are violating our rights. When they obey the Constitution, they're respectable. In fact, when I see policemen and sheriff's officers obeying the Constitution, upholding the Constitution, their oaths, I have an incredible amount of respect for them because I understand the difficulty of the job and that they're doing it properly. Doing their job properly. That's why people used to respect law enforcement. When you see a cop violating someone's rights, abusing them, it is filthy. When you see a policeman at these pro-Palestinian, shall we say, protests, where they're committing acts of terror, when you see these protesters blocking a highway, when you see these protesters blocking an airport, when you see these protesters stopping people from traveling or entering buildings or going where they need to, and police are standing around with their fucking hands in their pockets or their thumbs hooked on their bulletproof vest doing nothing, they're not doing their job. They're disobeying their oath. It's disrespectful to us. When you see police arresting protesters for violating other people's rights, and now it's admirable again. The difference between one and the other is whether they're acting lawfully or unlawfully under color of law, whether they're using their costume to abuse people or to perform a duty, and whether they do their job properly or whether they are just there for the fucking paycheck and they obey any order. Right? Obeying an order that's unlawful and hurting people, like January 6th protesters. Not very admirable, is it? When you see them standing there with their thumbs in their asses, not arresting protesters who are violently attacking people, right? They were given an order not to do their job. Just as filthy and disgusting as the cops who are beating the shit out of people like January 6th protesters. Folks, we've got a country. We got people wearing costumes. Many are good, many are bad. How do we know? We won't know until they're doing it right in front of us. We're in trouble. I don't know the solution. I don't know how to get us there. I can identify the problems, but, the time to act hasn't come yet. Anyways, let's do this. I appreciate that name redacted. Costumes. Think about a police uniform. It's just a costume. When you see a doctor, what makes them a doctor? Why do you treat them differently, a doctor? Well, they're wearing a white lab coat. They got a stethoscope around their neck. They're carrying a clipboard. It says doctor on their fucking lab coat. I had a lab coat. It was white, and it was for making beer. It had my name on it. And people were like, oh, you're a brewmaster. I was like, you bet your ass I am. I am a brewmaster. I can make beer. I made beer in commercial quantities. Small commercial quantities, but commercial nonetheless. So I accept the title of brewmeister. Anyways, it's just a costume that the doctor wears, that police wear, that firemen wear. In fact, judges wear costumes. How many judges and lawyers have been caught lately for being child molesters and possessing pedophile material? Violating people's rights. Oh, yeah, like all the judges and lawyers persecuting President Trump. Look out, folks. It's just going to get nastier. And Mr. Uman, let's do another one from the crowd out there, shall we? Who has something to say on the Prepared Mind channel on this Friday? Free for all. It's badass diving frog. He says, John, why is the liberal farming mindset that of stomping on dirt because it didn't produce food overnight? Back when they had the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, the Chaz in Seattle, they took over and put up barricades made out of garbage cans, road barriers, and pallets. They thought they were going to farm and create the food they needed. This is fucking hilarious. So they went to a local Home Depot and they bought tarps and they put the tarps down and then they put soil on the tarps. And then they got tomato plants and cucumber plants and squash plants. And they planted them on their little makeshift farms at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone back in 2020. And the next day, there weren't ripe tomatoes and juicy cucumbers and big plump squashes. Not a one. There were no potatoes and carrots burgeoning, busting out of the ground with wholesome deliciousness. Day 2, same story. Day 3, nothing, not a zip zilch. Day 4, no food. They got pissed off. They gave up on the fucking garden. Too much work. Even though the black leadership, the racist black leadership, had white slaves at the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, they didn't realize that it takes months to grow a fucking tomato or a cucumber or a squash. Months from the time they plant a seed until the seedling grows, matures, is fertilizes, produces fruit that then has to grow and mature, and then you can pick it and eat it. There's a lot of care and work and effort that goes into farming. You're asking, what's their fucking mindset? Because they're idiots. Now, let's fast forward 4 fucking years. Literally 4-year fast forward down in UCLA. The students there, they're not students, they're fucking terrorists who are keeping people from attending school. They're blocking people from traveling. They're threatening people with violence. They're calling for death to America. They want to kill all the Jews. They fucking hate us all. That's us, right? They're begging people to bring them food. Food. Please send us gluten-free food. They don't even know what fucking gluten is. Send us gluten-free food and send us vegan food. No, they're like these fucking illegals that come here and they're like, we don't like the food you're feeding us. We need better hotels, right? They're like, we need special food that fits our special freaky little diet. Because I'm a butt pirate with monkeypox, I'm not allowed to eat gluten, I guess. Whatever their fucking problem is, right? I just like calling them butt pirates because that's what they are. By the way, the real Palestinians don't like American Palestinians that play butt darts. They don't like that. They'll kill you. It's coming. Okay, so yeah, they haven't learned their lesson. They think food grows overnight. In fact, they think that most of them think grocery stores is where the food is made. As if they got a little machine that spits out whole ripe tomatoes. Like there's a button on the fucking machine, like Willy Wonka at the factory. He just pushes a button and that food comes out. Like they have a 3D fucking printer. Unbelievable. Now, while we're at UCLA, let's get into it. A black UCLA student, he's Black American, at University of California, Los Angeles, ran into some, Palestinian-descended protesters. No, folks. They're like the sons and daughters of terrorists from other countries who are here to get an education, supposedly, who are here on scholarships because they're disadvantaged from another country. What they called them was white libs cosplaying as the oppressed. I thought that was fucking great. That's probably the smartest thing any one of these foreign dumb fucks has said. And it's but folks, don't. I'll reveal how ignorant and stupid these fucksticks are. Remember, the enemy we're fighting is not smart. They're determined. They're not smart. They're not prudent. They're willing to commit crimes openly. They're fucking stupid. Now, again, let me go back to the definition. And they're white liberals cosplaying as the oppressed. They're white libs cosplaying as the oppressed. White liberals costume playing. They're dressing up as if they're actually Palestinians, as if they're actually Arabs or Middle Easterners or jihadis. They're dressing up, cosplay. They're liberals, as if they're oppressed. They're at a fucking school that cost anywhere from, $50,000 to $150,000 a year, depending on how many benefits you're buying, right? They can afford that, but they're oppressed. Give me a fucking break. But what cracks me up is, remember, it was a black UCLA student. A black UCLA student who was called a white liberal cosplaying as the oppressed. I found it funny as fuck. Now, if I recall, the picture I saw of the black UCLA student, he was right. The protests were mostly peaceful. You see someone mostly peaceful, but there's a flaming car and right in the background, mostly peaceful. This guy was mostly black. Maybe that's why he called him a white liberal, because he didn't look 100% black, which causes me to beg the question, how much black do you have to have in your DNA, your genotype, to be considered black? How much? And what if your phenotype, the way you look, and then there's your DNA? What if your phenotype, how you look, isn't black enough? Are you still black? The whole thing is fucking ridiculous, in other words. Folks, now here's the deal. We have white libs cosplaying as if they're oppressed, but we have over 10 million foreign-born, America-hating scumbags that are here illegally, along with real Palestinian terrorists. They don't need American liberals. They don't need these American liberals that are cosplaying. These white American liberal cosplaying oppressed idiots are going to be the first people killed on the first chance they get if we go into a full-blown violent confrontation, because they're seen as unworthy and immoral enemies of their jihad. Their holy war is against the immoral, folks. That includes white liberals who like to play butt darts, color their hair purple, etc., 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 and etc. Okay, now that was a fun one there. Sheesh. And there's so much more, folks. Elon Musk defended Trump and his presidential record because, well, Robert De Niro had another rant over Trump. He's been ranting around Trump again. What cracks me up is when Robert De Niro starts whining and crying like a little bitch. Whining and crying like a little bitch. Mr. De Niro, you're a little bitch, right? It means Trump is going to win. You better get out and vote. No excuses. No excuses. Not my vote doesn't count. Not I'm in a state that doesn't need my vote. Please vote. Now, they know that he's going to win because their side is so poorly in position to win. Now, I can take you back to 1984. 1984. Okay, Ronald Reagan was president. I believe it was Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro. Holy shit, I pulled those names out. 1984, ran against Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan adopted, reluctantly, the American economy, monetary, financial, and economic systems from Jimmy Carter, a sack of shit. Before that was Gerald Ford, a ding-dong. Before that was Tricky Dick Nixon. Before that was LBJ, who spent, ultimately his programs have spent $6 trillion, the war on poverty. Right? Before that was JFK. Before that was Dwight D. Eisenhower, who warned everyone in his farewell message about the military-industrial complex and how deadly it was as a secret organization. Fast forward again to 1984. The Democrats still had a platform, something they could campaign on. We're for higher taxes or lower taxes, whatever the fuck they had. They were for these rights or that rights or equal rights. They had something they were running on as a campaign. What does Biden have as a campaign? Why doesn't Robert De Niro talk about all the great things the Democrat Party is going to do? Well, let's see. They're going to make sure everyone can have abortions. They want to make sure all children are exposed to homosexuals and freaks. They want to make sure that the border is open to allow in even more terrorists, unqualified illegals who want to do nothing except rape, steal, pillage, murder, and, of course, confiscate our resources. And see, what else does Joe Biden want to do? Oh, he wants to bribe other countries by sending them money, laundering it, and then accepting kickbacks to their numbered bank accounts in foreign jurisdictions so that they can retire very wealthy, rich, and give that money to themselves. That's not much of a campaign that people would vote for. So all they can do is attack Trump. That's why Robert De Niro is doing it. He attacks Trump because there's nothing to vote for. I want more of the left-wing ding-dongs, folks, going full retard, full Trump derangement syndrome. I'm glad Elon Musk defended Trump, but at the same time, I want them going apeshit because it helps prove the point. They have no viable campaign platform on which to run. None at all. None at all. And this, folks, as a Friday free-for-all farewell send-off until Sunday Night Live, this Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to give you one last story. I'm in the great state of Florida, the great Republic of Florida, the great bastion of freedom in Florida and the South. But alas, even Florida has criminals, my friends. Florida man was arrested because he attacked his sister during an argument. He attacked her with a fried chicken. Even in Florida, folks, even if it's your sibling, you're not allowed to assault someone. Even if you're assaulting them with delicious food, you can be arrested. Assault is assault. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind. I pray that yours is as well. Godspeed to you. God bless America. Semper Fi, and down with pro-Palestinian terrorists and anti-American scum wherever they may be.